You know who else likes DVDs? My mom!
This video is brought to you by Galaxy Lamp. The Galaxy Projector 2.0 can turn any room with an electrical outlet and a Wi-Fi connection into a mini planetarium. The 360-degree rotation and the 3-position base allow you to project the scenic night sky onto walls or the ceiling. You have the option to control it through your phone, using an app available on the Google Play or Apple App storefronts, as well as with a voice-activated smart speaker device, like Google Home or Amazon Alexa. I can honestly say that the projector is great at setting a relaxing mood, and the customizable lighting and color options make it feel like you're stepping into another universe. Or not, you know? You can customize the settings to your heart's content. The first 100 people who visit galaxylamps.co/NICKtendo will receive a 15% discount on their purchase. That's galaxylamps.co/NICKtendo. Link is in the description. Sometimes a DVD looks like this. Then it looks like this. Also, here's the third copy of Face Off that I own. Just like America's most valuable commodities, such as video games and snack foods, DVDs often get reissued, rebranded, and re-released. And sometimes those DVDs have cartoons on them. Sure, you might not get remastered graphics or the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 soundtrack embedded into the product, but you might get some new art or packaging. And that's what I'm looking at today. Consider this a follow-up to the video I did a few years back where I showcased a few of the high and low points of my cartoon collection on compact disc. Although if I wanted to stay true to this topic, I'd probably just change the thumbnail. Not like I don't constantly do that already. Real fans will remember the pre-Bertram era of my weirdest cartoon crossovers video. Subscribe and ring that bell to witness every time I change a thumbnail as a part of a sick experiment to see if people will click on a video depending on the amount of Weezer on display. No video is safe. Not even the one you're watching right now. Also, that Doritos bag is actually real, and I want it, but I don't want to spend any money on it. Let's pick up where I left off by talking about The Simpsons on DVD. When season 19 finally hit store shelves in 2019, they put out this limited collector's edition set that compiled the first 20 years of the series. If you weren't able to snag one, you weren't missing out on much. The box was covered in some nice original artwork, but it was just a repackaging of the original releases. All for a mere $550. When you see them all bundled together, it looks like little changed over the 18 years they were releasing these, but there was some trial and error with how the season sets were presented. The first 5 seasons unfolded accordion style, then they switched over to plastic trays stacked on top of cardboard for the next 5. From season 11 onward, they went back to the accordion style, but ditched the digipack disc holders in favor of cardboard sleeves that can easily scratch up the DVDs.
I hate when people do that!
I'm looking at you, Adventure Time and Steven Universe Complete Series sets. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Even though it made room for more artwork, I think they should have stuck with the seasons 6 through 10 model. A few of the earlier seasons were reprinted in that style back in 2011, and that version of season 4 even came with an art print that featured artwork that the packaging otherwise wouldn't preserve. Most of these changes were a little annoying at best, but there is one major blunder on the legacy of Simpsons DVDs that committed the despicable crime of ruining the consistency of season collections everywhere: the head-shaped DVD cases.
Hey, didn't I just make a video on this exact topic? It was kind of popular.
I wrote mine in May, and I didn't get around to editing it until now. Plus, my version has images of this unremarkable insert. It's completely different.
Oh, okay then. As long as you're not planning an 11-part series on illegal toothbrushes, I'll chalk it up as a coincidence. Hey, didn't you also do a Malcolm in the Middle video that was similar to mine where we both looked at media related to its theme song?
When season 6 first came to home video, you could only buy a version that housed the discs in a plastic Homer head. Upon cracking open his cranium, you'd find a slightly smaller version of the packaging that they'd used during that era. I do like how they snuck in a reference to the crayon that got stuck in Homer's nose, which was revealed in season 12's HOMR. It's a nice touch. It reminds me of how you would peel back the layers of the characters with the Adventure Time DVDs. Something that you'll only find in this version of season 6 is this insert. a very self-aware offer that would allow you to order a foldable replacement box that would bring the season in line with the previous 5. I've always owned the second release of this season, which had the more standard packaging, a new page of artwork, and reorganized the position of the characters behind the discs. Nowadays, I don't think you can still order a replacement, but I can confirm that the old case fits into the second edition's box. Putting these two side by side reminds me of the SpongeBob Halloween episode where Patrick shaves off his square head. A little detail I've always loved about both versions is that if you put the case in the box backwards, you're led straight to the gunman who shot Mr. Burns. Spoilers for a 25-year-old episode of television, I guess. Seasons 7, 8, 9, and 10 would also get the head-shaped treatment, but now they were marketed as an alternative to the traditional versions. These bulky collector's editions were reworked into removable and slightly unsettling faceplates. As someone whose Rick and Morty DVD collection looks like a mess on its side, I sympathize with the, quote, anal retentive nerds who like their DVD boxes to line up perfectly on the shelf. These cases were a neat novelty, just impractical in execution, but I appreciate how Fox Home Entertainment tried to please everyone.
Like I always say, compromise is the key.
I always say that.
Let's compromise and say nobody said it.
Oh.
Unfortunately, not every DVD revamp deserves to be labeled as a controversy on the Simpsons wiki. The most boring example I can think of is for Rugrats. As of late, Paramount has been re-releasing some 90s Nicktoons. Hey Arnold and Rocko's Modern Life got snazzy new covers, but Rugrats? They just rearranged the cover, cut down the disc number, and called it a day. To be fair, they just put out the complete series in North America, and it looks considerably less lazy. At least they broke out some old stock art for that. If these Paramount Plus reboots mean that we finally get long overdue box sets, then bring on that live-action Fairly OddParents show. FOB DVD collectors have already suffered enough. You can buy Season 6 Volume 1 or just Season 6, but not Season 6 Volume 2. That's a Region 2 exclusive. None of these contain the complete season, and neither does the Season 6 Collector's Edition, which for some reason has less episodes than Season 6 Volume 1. I just want to watch their bad Christmas special. Why did they make this so complicated? Speaking of confusing naming, Cartoon Network came out with their line of And Friends DVDs around 2014. These contained a randomly selected disc from both their past and current shows. Sometimes you get a compilation DVD or a portion of a season release. They did the same thing with these Hall of Fame and 4Kid favorite sets, all of which weren't transparent about what discs were being reprinted. That's not to mention the bland design of these covers, or the fact that the And Friends naming convention doesn't work for most of their shows. I sure do love Adventure Time and all of his friends, not to be confused with the comic exclusive character, Adventure Tim. 2019 saw the re-release of a few older DVDs in their entirety under the Cartoon Network Presents moniker, complete with a new slipcase. Sure, it's technically a lazier alternative since they didn't remove the ads for things that stopped being produced 15 years ago, but it's more consumer friendly, and better than letting these unsold DVDs rot away in some sort of warehouse.
That one's going in the vault. And it's gone.
Johnny Test did something similar, but was a little sneakier about it. The first DVD I owned for the show was called Super Smarty Pants, and contained the first 10 episodes of Season 1, including the one it was named after. A few months later, I got the first 2 seasons on DVD for Christmas, and realized that Super Smarty Pants was actually just Season 1 Disc 1, with a different label. Mill Creek Entertainment had the nerve to put these out on the same day, and they didn't stop there. Every subsequent Johnny Test compilation DVD just repackaged a season disc. I guess the themes and menus were generic enough that they could pull it off. That fiery-headed boy saves the world and has awesome adventures more often than you'd think. At one point, I owned 3 copies of this same disc, 2 of which recycled the same art asset. And unlike Face Off, it wasn't intentional that time. I would have returned Super Smarty Pants, but it was the last thing I bought at Borders Books. So that's $10 I'll never get back. To commemorate my pain, I will play all the music cues from Johnny Test whenever he had an epic fail at the same time. Despite the many questions I get about why I don't talk about Nintendo, even though the name of my channel seems to be a pun on it, it's actually short for Nickelodeon, which is totally my real name and not something I made up on the spot to shut up my comments section. You're supposed to always yell the Nick part. That's why it's always capitalized. Anywho, the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and its follow-ups have had cross-generational appeal thanks to YouTube poop and DVDs that have polluted bargain bins and Redbox rentals for years. For the season based on Mario 3, we got 2 complete series collections, one from Shout Factory in 2007 and a re-release from N-Circle in 2013. I was only able to get one of them from my local library, because apparently reserving 2 separate titles with the same name and ISBN number is apparently confusing for some reason. The on-disc content is the same between both, although the latter version has different trailers. Ironically, one of them is for Sonic Underground, but it doesn't advertise any DVD. It's just the intro to that series. Not that I'm complaining. I love how that record opens with Sonic. Like, yeah, that's pretty much what it's about. Now, the background music in The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 sounds like royalty-free ripoffs that change a few notes from the original. The menus feel exactly like that. The bonus disc actually has a special feature I really enjoy, a video version of the series Bible that features production artwork, but it's narrated like some documentary that is serious. I want to say Ken Burns, but there's not nearly enough pans and zooms. It needs more pans and zooms!
No matter how much we want to laugh at the comedic appearances of our Nintendo-ish cast, they come complete with hearts, minds, dreams, feelings, and all the identifiable human conflicts essential to rich storytelling.
Those Mario Brothers are super!
Shout Factory's DVD had some love and care put into it, even mimicking the iconic box art of the original NES game. But N-Circle thought it would be better to have Mario wear a power-up that doesn't even appear in Super Mario Bros. 3. They got the background right and nothing else. All the other assets were made for Super Show. This is more compact than the original release, but lacks the attention to detail. Each of the thin, transparent cases had a clean, uniform design that actually told me what was on each disc. I know that no one streaming or re-releasing a show like this actually cares about giving it an authentic presentation, but if they got it right once, who's to say there can't be a world where that's the standard?
Think they'll ever learn that lesson in the real world? Yeah, when humans get as smart as mushrooms.
If you know the original context for that clip, I am so sorry. I've been wanting an excuse to talk about Futurama for at least 2 years, and for me personally, I can't separate the show from the DVDs. Getting the complete series was how I was introduced to it. I wasn't first exposed to it through Netflix or Hulu, or those reruns on Sci-Fi with the disgusting cropping. Those look like this joke from 2003. All of the volumes from that box set had stylized cardboard cases that I'm never sure if I'm folding the right way. I know Matt Groening's signature is on all of them, but trust me when I say that he did not draw these. By now you know the drill. These suckers used to look different, and I can show off all the changes made because I own 3 copies of Season 4. It's just the magic number. I don't have a problem. The initial versions of volumes 1 through 4 had it all. Unique slip covers, skinny cases with connecting covers, and loads of original art packed with references to the show. There were some really clever design choices with how each level of the packaging worked with each other, and over time they stripped it all away. In 2009, these volumes were reconfigured into a single standard DVD case, which is apparently called a keep case, and many visual elements were obscured or entirely removed. The same thing happened with reissues of the South Park DVDs, although unlike the originals, the text on the spines actually faced the right direction, so that's a plus. After 2007, all future Futurama DVDs had that fold-out cardboard packaging I mentioned earlier, starting with the direct-to-DVD movies. They boasted about being carbon neutral, and producing cases made out of fully recyclable material probably contributed to that cause. Gee, I wonder if this choice was influenced by a prominent environmentalist who had a huge impact on the early years of this series.
I have ridden the mighty moonworm.
Good for him.
I don't care how inconvenient the truth is. I just want more top-notch DVD packaging. Sometimes factors like functionality are seen as more important than the presentation with these re-releases. But no matter which version of Futurama Volume 3 you buy, you'll get to witness the groundbreaking editing and heartfelt sincerity of the bonus feature and Xmas message from David X. Cohen. It has to be seen to be believed.
Coolio, I raise this cone to you.
Every series that I'll mention in this video, SpongeBob SquarePants is the only one that's still cranking out DVDs, both old and new. I've already sung the praises of the first 100 episodes, and since I consider that to be the peak of this lineage, let's look at what re-releases have come before and after. To commemorate SpongeBob's 20th anniversary, we got the next 100 episodes. And unlike its predecessor, it was the original releases of seasons 6 through 9 rammed into one case with no custom menus and assets recycled from a 2013 fan event. If you want a convenient way to own as much of the series as possible, this and the combined best 200 episodes ever collections are an easy and fairly affordable way to do that. But if you have standards and only want to own a few of the early seasons, there's two sets of releases you can check out. The complete first season was a tad weak, since it was decorated with stock poses that, while relevant to certain episodes, continue to be used till this day. However, it started a trend of having these cute letters written by Steven Hillenburg. Those were a nice personal touch. The complete second and third seasons upped the ante by being covered with emboldened illustrations by storyboard artist Caleb Mirror. They were themed around a specific location and filled with callbacks galore. Who could forget the time Mr. Krabs got his claw cut off in season 2? That one's a classic. The packaging of the complete third season is identical to an early Futurama volume, right down to the window and the slipcover. In fact, the early Futurama volumes were originally packaged in 3 to 4 keep cases, not to mention all of the different iterations of its full series box set that I won't get into here. The interior is also one of my favorite pieces of promotional art in SpongeBob history. It amazes me how practically every episode in that run has some sort of representation. The copy I bought was sealed for 15 years, and I know this because it came with an ad for DVD cash. I gotta act quick to get a $5 discount before it expires at the end of 2005. Come season 4, they started splitting these into volumes, cause at the time, that's how Nickelodeon was releasing the shows they cared about on DVD. The boxes were simplified back to one slipcase with a pair of skinny cases, and they had consistent theming between the two volumes, except for season 5, although I guess they were united in stealing similar motifs from prior volumes. Next, they went back to releasing whole seasons at once, but simplified the design down to a single keep case, with the discs now boasting Paramount's bland gray color scheme. Season 7's cover looks so nice, only for disappointment to lie on the other side. All future season DVDs will be designed after this one, and the previous 6 were re-released in a similar compact style. Obviously there was effort put into these new editions, and the consistency they create looks great on a shelf. But man, I'm not a big fan of the artwork. Ever since 2008, most SpongeBob publicity material has used these stilted poses and shading that don't resemble what the characters look like in the actual cartoon. I'm fine with a franchise occasionally marketing itself with a stylized presentation, but I usually think accuracy should be the norm. I know that the artwork had slowly been moving towards this direction for years, but for me, it's a downgrade from the expressive wave of artwork that was most prominent around seasons 4 and 5, as opposed to the overused assets that haven't been changed since. The DVDs for seasons 7 and 12 were made a decade apart, but they have the same exact image of SpongeBob on the back, and it kind of drives me crazy. The good news is that there seems to be new stock art popping up that's finally in line with the show's current art style, and I hope these are here to stay. It's time for society to move beyond this image of smug Squidward. Even though I don't think SpongeBob or any of the DVD lines I've mentioned today will return to their former glory, that doesn't mean that DVDs have only gotten worse over time, and were always better with their original release. Priorities have shifted, and the media landscape is rapidly changing. Blu-rays and complete series sets are a different can of worms, which is why I decided not to cover them here. It's okay to think that accessibility is more important than having a dozen different cases all wrapped up in cool custom artwork, but it usually ends up meaning that we can't have nice things. When I made that first Cartoons on DVD video 3 years ago, streaming services based around brands like HBO Max and Disney Plus hadn't launched yet, and now you have semi-reliable outlets for watching hundreds of series without having to worry about them leaving the platform. Banned episodes notwithstanding, content will always come first for distributors, and dropping it online will always be cheaper than putting it on a disc. But hey, maybe DVDs will eventually cultivate a niche market like vinyl, even if they might look different than they do today. I just hope that they don't all end up resembling that stupid trend of animated movie covers that just have the protagonist stand in front of a void. This is way more appealing than an accurate representation of a film's tone and characters. These two images have the same exact level of value. You know something's wrong when I can take away the subtitles and numbers of the Shrek sequels and they all look interchangeable. I think we should stop here because I keep finding covers that look progressively worse, and I'm not sure when I'll hit the bottom of the barrel. Never mind, I found it.